thank you for signing up to be part of the Summer of Service Award program with Austin Creative Reuse. I'm really excited to have you on board and look forward to meeting each of you. So this is the kind of the first step of getting started with us. First is going to be to watch this video and kind of get oriented with all of the different ways you can volunteer and get familiar with the instructions. And then we'll go through all of those other steps that I listed out in the email at the end of the presentation so you understand everything you need to do to get started. So first I'm going to go through a little bit of background on ACR. So we'll talk about our mission and values and how we engage the community, and then kind of get into how you can volunteer to support that. So our mission is to foster conservation and reuse through creativity, education, and community building. What this really means is that we are trying to save materials from the landfill and really put people into a reuse mindset through that lens of creativity. And we think you can really do that by exploring the creative reuse side of things and repurposing things in a creative, fun way to help build that mindset of, my actions and the objects I use and things all have impact on the environment. And we also want to educate people, so we're trying to get into schools more. Our materials mobile is one of our biggest current initiatives on the education front. And then also just really building a community around the values of creative reuse and reuse in general and conservation. So our values are every object has impact. This means that we're really recognizing the fact that every object, whether it's supposed to be a single-use plastic berry container, or it's a record or, ball of yarn, all of those objects have impact on our Earth. It has impacts on the environment, it has impacts on our community, and more. And so we're really trying to recognize that impact and make it as positive as possible and try to mitigate the negative impacts as much as we can. We believe that reuse creates awareness. So that means that when you start reusing things, even if they're in a creative manner, you're going to start being more aware of the impact that every object has and being more aware of all of the waste streams that we create and everything like that. Our next value is that communities are powerful. We really believe that if the community is centered around the values of conservation and reuse, that's where we're really going to make that impact and where we're going to move the ball forward, is by having the entire community on board. And we know that communities are how people stay sane. That is how you feel rooted and you have purpose and everything like that. So we're really trying to build a community here, both in our volunteer department, but then generally out in the world, every customer that walks through our door, every person we interact with at a community event, we're trying to build that community centered around conservation and supporting each other. Our next value is that action is advancement. What this really means, especially as a volunteer, is that we're always trying to make steps towards reaching a better outcome. So this program is one of those actions that we're taking to try and advance towards a better state where we're able to help our community more. By introducing this new program and trying to get more people involved with volunteering with us, we're really trying to advance our mission more. And as a volunteer, that means that staying flexible and being willing to give feedback when you feel like something isn't working and everything is really important, because we're always going to be trying out new stuff. And our last and, one of, I think, the most important values we have is that our people make it possible. We would not be possible without every volunteer that helps out, without every staff member that dedicates a bunch of their time and energy to supporting our mission, and without all of our customers that are willing to buy reuse items and to use reuse items, and every donor who brings us their old things and everything like that. That is all really what makes ACR possible, and we really wouldn't be able to do any of this without everyone on everyone on our team. So kind of diving into who we serve and how we serve them. The first and foremost is the environment. At our heart, we are a conservation organization. We save over 20 tons of materials from the landfill every month, and to date we've saved over we've saved from the landfill over 2.3 million pounds of donations. So we really are making a pretty substantial environmental impact for a little small Austin-based nonprofit. We also really want to serve local artists. So keeping affordable prices is really important to us and a big part of why volunteers are so important. And we also want people to be able to create and explore without having all of that pressure of having spent a whole bunch of money on stuff, or like feeling like you have that environmental impact if you don't get it right the first time. We also really want to serve Austin families, so we do that through going to community events, and then we host low-cost art classes as well. We have a Pay What You Can program and a materials mobile that serves our teachers. So we recognize that teachers are paying a lot out of pocket, and we want to help them however we can. And then last but not least, we want to serve our students. So we partner with several AISD schools to bring in special education classes to build into our life skills program, which is like volunteering for special education students in a way that everyone can access. And then we also have a big back to school sale at the beginning of the year where everyone can come and get all the school supplies they need for like $5 to fill a bag versus the like $55 or whatever it would cost to buy it new. So a little bit of how ACR works if you're not really familiar with us. So first of all, we take in donations from both individuals and local businesses. So this is kind of the first step in the process, is actually sourcing those materials. We take in 45 to 55,000 pounds a month. So we really are processing a whole lot of materials. So we go through donation intake, and then all of those donations need to be processed. So our staff can directly process some of those items, but a lot of them need to have further processing that happens by volunteers. So we have over 143 core volunteers, plus 2,000 more about per year that help make our mission possible. One of the things that we really pride ourselves on is our really high diversion rate. So that means that a 95% diversion rate means that of all of the materials that get donated to us, 95% of them stay out of the landfill, which is really high for like a thrift store type of model, and volunteers are absolutely how we make that possible. So a lot of those materials go for sale in our reuse center. So we have like it's effectively like a thrift store for craft and art supplies that's open to the public. So it's really specialized. It's not like your typical thrift store. We don't sell any clothing or anything like that. We really focus on just like things that are going to be creatively reused. But in addition to that, some of our materials will go to our educator programs, like the Materials Mobile, and some of them will go directly to our low-cost art classes as well. And that's part of how we keep all of those prices accessible, is by using donated materials for them. And then the funding from the reuse center, any like tiny profit margins that we make go back into funding those educator programs and then the art classes as well. So a little bit about your volunteer management team. So my name is Madison. I'm the volunteer coordinator. I'm the person who you're going to be contacting probably most often throughout your volunteerism with us. I have a dog named Ani who's very sweet, and she comes and hangs out with me in volunteer land on a semi-regular basis, so I hope you get to meet her at some point. And then Sarah, who uses she, her pronouns as well, is the fabric department lead, and she'll be helping you out with any of the like fabric related projects and stuff like that. And she's a great resource. She's really kind, and I'm really excited to have her on our team. Okay, so now that we've gone into some of the background, we're going to talk about different ways to volunteer. So the kind of easiest step, like the easiest way to get in, easiest way to get started is through community volunteering. So this is volunteering that's available to anyone. You didn't have to go through this extra training in order to do it. And that's why it's a really good entry point. Because someone is going to tell you how to do the project right then and there. So you don't have to try and teach it to yourself. There's a whole bunch of different session types, so I encourage you to check them out. You can read about them on the Give Pulse site to kind of get an idea of what they're going to be like. And so if you don't like one, try out a different one, see if you like that one more. So these are offered on a regular and like strict schedule. They have a certain start time, they have a certain end time. And so that's like one of the things that isn't the greatest about them, because there's not very much flexibility there. But if that scheduling works out with you, then great. I really encourage you to join us for a community volunteering session. Like I said, they're going to be led by a volunteer leader, so you're going to get instructions on how to do it right then and there. And so it's a great way to get started and kind of learn how things work. And they're often pretty social, especially over the summer. Almost all of our community volunteering sessions will be full of like 6+ people. So you get to meet other people, and it's a good way to like bring in friends and stuff like that too. All right, so the perk of going through this program is that you're going to get more access to more of these independent projects that are a little bit more flexible. One of those projects is doing like a processing project. So this is considered an in-center shift, and you'll see why that's important when we get to like signing up for shifts and things. So there's kind of two different families. You can do sorting and packaging, which has a bunch of different projects, and I'll tell you how to like access those instructions later so you can get an idea of what they'd be like. Or you can do fabric, which is a little bit more like repeated. You're doing the same thing over and over, so it's easy to kind of get into a flow, but some people can find it boring, so just depends on your personality. So some of the highlights for this is that there's really flexible scheduling, like I said, and I'll go through the hours that you can volunteer for that, but there's not a set start and end time. Like you can just come in when it works for you, come in for like a minimum of an hour, work on something, and then go. Each project is pretty different, so if you don't like the first one, you can always ask me like, hey, I really didn't like this first project I did. Do you have another suggestion for a different project I could do? And I might be able to give you a suggestion on something you might like more. So you're going to follow written instructions to complete this, so you don't need any training to get started or anything, but it is much more self-led and independent versus the community volunteering sessions where someone will be like instructing you through the project. Another type of in-center shift that you can do is shelving and retail organization. So this is a huge, huge help to our retail team. So they really appreciate any help that they can get. If you're more familiar with ACR and have shopped here a lot, this is a really great way for you to check out all the new stuff that we've got. And then like just kind of, interact with the community and stuff, because people will naturally ask you questions when you're out on the retail floor. And so you can kind of like, get to know what people are doing. And if you hate talking to people, you can always come before we open and do this too. So the first type of shift is shelving new, in quotes, new items. So to do that, you're going to pick out a bin from the to shelve area, and I'll show you that on the tour that you're going to get as kind of the last step of this. So you pick out a bin from the to shelve area and shelve whatever you can. Anything that's overstock or things that you can't find a spot for on the floor, just go to a retail staff member, give it to them and say like, hey, I think, this isn't going to fit out on the floor. I think it needs to be backstocked, or I can't figure out where this goes. And they'll help out with that. You don't have to tackle the really challenging things. Just getting all of the yarn out is a huge help, or getting frames out is a huge help. So you don't have to be tackling really tough things in order to be really helping us out on that side of things. The other thing you can do is some amount of retail organizing. So if you've ever come into the center and looked at a section on the floor and been like, oh my gosh, this is so disorganized, you now have the opportunity to fix that. This is really all about like getting things like back in the bins they're supposed to be in, cleaning out the bins when when a jar of glitter has come undone and gone everywhere, something like that. So to get started on that, first, you're going to ask a retail member if there's any problem areas that you really want to address, or say, hey, I've got my eye on that glitter bin. Is it okay if I tackle that? It's always important to like connect with the retail staff before you get started on a project like this, because they may have other information that you don't know about. And so you always want to ask them before you get started. And then that way they also know why you're like taking everything out of this bin, and they know that you're a volunteer that's helping out and stuff like that. So you would remove all the items in the bin that don't belong in there. So if it says it's a glitter bin, take out the Play-Doh, take out the sequins, take out the fabric, whatever has made its way into there. You take that all out and reshelve whatever you can. And then you'd also want to like take out items that have come unraveled or loose. So for our glitter example, if you notice that one of the tops on the glitter thing is coming undone and you can't get it to stay, like you want to remove those and either try to package it yourself, like if you could tape it, or if it's come unraveled and it was supposed to be measured or something, give that back to processing so that it can go back through the processing, process, I guess, and get remeasured or priced or whatever needs to happen to it. But this can be a really big help, and you don't have to do like an entire aisle or anything. You can do just the glitter bin or something like that. So it's easy to do just like one bite-sized piece at a time. Okay, so those are the three types of volunteering that we have. Next, I'm going to talk about some of the logistics on like how you use the volunteer portal and how you sign up for shifts and stuff like that. These are some of the really important kind of things to make sure you get, because this is how you're going to get how you're going to get credit for your hours, which if you're working towards this award, you probably want your hours tracked. And then also helps us like understand when you're going to be coming in and what you're working on and stuff like that. All right, so kind of the big thing that you're going to want to be familiar with is the volunteer portal. So the volunteer portal is hosted through our website, but you have to like make a username and password in order to get in, and we'll talk about how to do that in the last steps. But from here you can see announcements at the top. Some of these may apply to you, some of them may not apply to you, but go ahead and read through all of them and see which ones, do apply to the Summer of Service program. And you can also find all the project instructions here, which is really important, and I'll show you how to do that. And then this is also where you're going to sign up for volunteering opportunities so you can get credit for those hours towards your award. Alright, so when you get to the volunteer portal, it's going to ask you to log into the website, and so you're going to put in your name and password, and you'll get logged in. And it'll open up this little sidebar. So first we're going to explore the volunteer portal page. And this volunteer portal, like I said, it has all the announcements at the top, and then if you go down, you'll see all of these different volunteer opportunities. So as a Summer of Service volunteer, you have access to the first two. You can do community volunteering and you can do in-center shifts. We're not going to go through giving you all the training for social shifts or take-home projects, just because they're a little bit more involved. And as a summer-long volunteer, I think it's much more applicable and helpful for you to do the first two. So you're only going to be eligible to sign up for community volunteering and in-center shifts. But you would just click on this link, and then it's going to take you to a form, and you just fill out the form. Put in what your name is, and then what shift you want to sign up for, or when you're planning on coming in, how long you're planning on staying. It's all pretty straightforward. Just follow the directions in the form to get started there. So if you want to check out the project instructions, which can be really helpful if you are interested in doing a project and want to see what it would be like, or you're in center and there's a bin on the wall that you want to work on, but you want to know what it's going to be like before you get started, or maybe the bin doesn't have instructions attached or something like that, then you can go through the volunteer portal to find the instructions. So of note, on the project bins in center, there are big blue signs or pink signs. They're all like colored half-page signs, and they have QR codes on them. And this is what takes you to the instructions for each of those projects. So that's usually the easiest way to find project instructions, is just scanning that QR code on the bin. But you can also come here too. Like I said, if it doesn't have the QR code, or you want to look it up ahead of time or something like that when you're not at the center. So yeah, this is a great resource for you. All right, so for in-center and community shifts, you're going to click on these two. Again, to reiterate, you are not eligible to sign up for the social shifts or the take-home projects, so just focus on those first two tiles there. And like I said, it's pretty straightforward. So for in-center shifts, and this is reiterated on the little page when you sign up, but just to make sure that we're all on the same page, you can come in during these hours. So of note, you can come in a couple hours before the center opens throughout the weekdays. So Monday through Friday, you can come in starting at 9 a.m. You'll note that the center, like the store, isn't open to the public on Mondays, but we are open to volunteers from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And on Saturday and Sunday, you need to just stick to the store hours, because we don't have someone here like way in advance of the doors opening and stuff. So just make sure to come in during like the store hours. So that's on Saturday from 11 to 7 and on Sunday from 12 to 6. But yeah, so just follow these hours when you sign up for them on the portal. Just make sure to read that before you pick a time. If you come in when the center isn't open, first try the door, see if you can open it, because sometimes we leave it unlocked if we know people are going to be coming in, and you can just pry the door open and then shut it behind you. Or if it's not open, or you can't get it open or anything, go ahead and ring the doorbell to the right of the door, and then someone will come up to let you in. So if you need to cancel, please just let us know so we can keep our hours tracking consistent. Otherwise, it's not a big deal if you don't make it to a shift that you signed up for. If it consistently happens all the time without any notice, then we'll have a problem. But for the most part, we're not policing if you showed up every single time. Just make sure that you let us know so our hours tracking is right. And if we see that you're signing up for shifts that you're not actually showing up for, then you won't be eligible to receive that award. And then check the big group schedule if you want to come in, and this will also be in the weekly email, but there's a big whiteboard in Volunteerland that you'll see that has all of the groups that are going to be coming in and such. And you just want to make sure that you're not coming in during one of those big groups, because it can be really crowded in Volunteerland. But you could always do like a retail floor project. So if you come in and Volunteerland is full, just go help out with shelving or something for a little while, and that'd be really appreciated. All right, so while you're volunteering, we ask that you please always wear closed-toed shoes. There's a lot of like random pins on the floor and lots of things to trip on, so please wear closed-toed shoes when you're volunteering. You'll want to make a name tag each day so that people know who you are, people understand that you're a volunteer, and then also we can learn your name and you can become part of our community. And then try to bring a refillable water bottle, because we don't want to use a whole bunch of single-use plastic and stuff. But if you need to, we've got cups in Volunteerland for you to get a drink of water. So when you start your shift, it's always really good to introduce yourself to the employees that you're going to be helping out around, especially if you're on the retail floor. So just, walk up and introduce yourself and say, hey, I'm Sam. I'm going to be helping with volunteering. I'm a volunteer and I'm going to be helping out with shelving today. So let me know if you need help with anything. And that goes a long way. If you are coming for a community volunteer shift, please make sure to write your name in the book, like the sign-in book, because that's how we verify that you were here. There's not like a sign-in process for the retail, like the shelving shifts or the independent shifts, just for that community volunteering shift. So as long as you've signed up for them ahead of time for an in-center shift, you're fine. All right, so communication. You're going to get a weekly email from me on usually Thursdays or Fridays, and just read through that, see what's coming up, see what we need help with. For the most part, a lot of those things won't really apply to you. They're more for like the full-on core volunteers, but it's still good to kind of read the announcements and stuff and kind of keep abreast with what's going on. And then, like I said, there's this calendar and whiteboard in Volunteerland that highlights like really important stuff coming up in addition to the group schedule. And then if you ever have any questions, it's best to reach out to me via email. Or you can, if you're in center, come and see if I'm around and ask me a question then. But if I'm not around or you're not in center or something like that, just email me at volunteer@austincreativereuse.org and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Usually it's within a couple days, so you can get a pretty quick response. Of note, when you sign up for shifts, you're going to get a confirmation email that's sent from Airtable Automations. So it's really important to add that to your contacts, because you don't want that to go to spam, because that's how you're going to know what you've signed up for and to let me know when you need to cancel and stuff like that. All right, so for the Summer of Service Award Program, we ask that you complete at least 30 hours of service between June 1st and August 31st. So you've got all summer to complete 30 hours. You can do those all in 1 week if you just want to bust them all out, or you can do just a couple hours a week and, kind of get them by the end of the summer, whatever works. Once the summer concludes, we're going to go through and verify all the hours from all of the program participants, and we'll send out, and we'll make certificates for anyone who completed it. Generally, we'll ask that you come in person to pick those up, but if you can't, like, we're going to email you, and you can email me back and say, like, hey, I need it to be mailed. If you need the certificate sooner than like mid-September or something, just email me and I can make it ahead of time. But otherwise, you're going to be getting those like mid to late September. All right. So next steps, we're going to go through all the things you have to do in order to finish up your training so that you can start volunteering. First, you need to take the knowledge check quiz. This is a short quiz. I think it's like 10 questions long or something. And it just makes sure that you kind of understand a lot of the things that we went through in this video. So you're going to click on the link in the intro email to access the quiz. You must score at least 80% in order to pass. So if you don't pass it the first time, try taking it again. And you're not going to be recognized as a full-on volunteer until we see that you've passed it at least 80%. Feel free to use this video to help you answer the questions. If you see a question and you're like, oh, I don't quite remember the answer to that, but I think it was in the middle of the video, like, please use this video. This video is supposed to be a tool for you so that you understand all the things to do here. I'm not just making you do the video for funsies. So in order to access the quiz, you do have to put in a password. That password is all caps, SOS 2024. So that stands for Summer of Service 2024. So make sure to put that in order to get access to the quiz. Second, you need to read, sign, and email me back the volunteer code of conduct. It's linked in the original email, and you're welcome to use e-signature. I don't care. I just really want to know that you've read it and understand what we expect of you. Next, you're going to create a volunteer portal login. So this is how you're going to get to that site with all the project instructions and your links to sign up for stuff and everything like that. You need to follow the link in the introduction email to make that sign in. Of note, you have to follow the link that I give you in the email. You can't just go straight to the website. So make sure you do that. And while you'll be able to make a portal login right away, you can't start signing up for shifts until you've completed all the other steps and we've like checked you off in our system. So if you make a portal login and you don't see your name right away, like that's why we need to, there's still some steps we have to do on our end to check box that yes, you've done all of these things and yes, you can move on to signing up for things. And then last, but very importantly, you're going to schedule a tour/orientation session with either me or Sarah. So you're going to follow the link in the intro email, and it's going to take you to this nifty scheduling website where you're going to be able to schedule a 15-minute one-on-one tour or an orientation meeting with us. So we're going to take you all around the center. We're going to show you behind all of those curtains that say staff and volunteers only that you've never been behind before. We're going to show you where to find all the supplies for the projects you need, how to find instructions, etc. So it's a really important step to like making sure that you are ready to get going with us. So just schedule that and then you can get started. If for some reason you can't find a time that works for you, like before you want to start volunteering, you could start doing community volunteer shifts before you do this tour and orientation session. You'll just need to tell us about those because they're tracked in two different systems, whether you're an award recipient versus a like regular community volunteer. So try to get this done as soon as you can is the moral of the story. All right, so this is just kind of a final step summary. Again, this is in the email that I sent you with all of the links that you need. So that's going to be your home base is that email I sent you, and just click on each of these links and do each of the little steps in order to get done with this. Yeah, if you have any questions, just email me, and I am super excited to have you on board. Thank you so much. Welcome to the team.